again, everyone. This is Bob Martin, the RCSubGuy with the Drydocks.com. Got another completed project to share with you. The infamous German Type VII U-boat in 48 scale. Let's take a closer look. So what we have here is a completed model that was originally constructed by a very talented builder by the name of Dwayne Hill up in Canada. Got traded in, Drydocks went through it, refit it, and got it set for the new owner. This is the same scale as the ARC model Type VII, which is 1/48 scale, 55 inches in overall length. It's a beautiful size. Unlike the ARC model kit, however, this is a fiberglass hull. Now, I'm not sure, and I could probably check with Dwayne, it could be a DK Models hull from up in Canada there, but regardless, it's beautifully detailed. You can see all of the beautiful deck details in here. Looks like it was probably a laser cut deck up there. It's not photo etch as far as I can see. What we're going to do in this video, we're going to go through the installation of the cylinder, go through the various components, show you how it all goes together, and this will form a little bit of a manual for the new owner, but you guys who don't happen to own it will also get a chance to see how this is put together, and perhaps it'll help you with a current or future project of your own. So let's get started. We already talked about the hull itself. Let's talk about the components inside. This is a scratch-built watertight cylinder that Dwayne put together following his standard watertight cylinder methodology. Basically, this entire tray pulls out with the end cap. We have a single output shaft for a dual motor boat, and we'll show you the gearbox in here a little bit later. We got some magnetic couplings on the back that Dwayne fabricated. Everything is powered by this nickel metal hydride battery pack that's been waterproofed with heat shrink. Taking a look at the internal components, we have a nice beefy brushed motor in there and a electronic speed controller. We've got our two servos aft for the rear dive planes and the rudder. We've got a receiver in there, an air pump, and the ballast servo. Now, that's a linear servo conversion. It moves in a true linear fashion in and out. When it retracts, the vent opens up. When it moves forward, the air pump is activated, and when it goes all the way, it depresses this emergency gas blow system. You can see the conduit for the wire moving into the forward compartment there, and that's specifically for the forward servo that controls the bow planes. Everything is controlled by this 9-channel 2.4 gigahertz radio system, and you can see from the cylinder the extension for that 2.4 gigahertz radio right there. So what we're going to do now, we're going to open up the hull. We're going to drop in the cylinder and test everything out. All right, what we're going to do here, we're going to get Jason Butterfield, the shop manager here at the Drydocks. He's going to crack open the hull. He probably knows it a little better than I do. So we'll show you access. There's a screw type connector for the forward antenna. Just going to throw that off to the side. Whole deck is connected magnetically. A couple connections in the back. And all of these hull sections are completely removable, including the foremost one and the rear one. I think that slides forward after you. There you go. So the whole thing lifts right up. And then the, if I'm not mistaken, the tower is fully removable. Is that right?
It's screwed on.
Screwed on. Yep. So for transport, it'll make it a lot safer. Jason just fished out the intermediate dog bone in there. And you can see inside, maybe before we drop the cylinder in, we'll show you this. So we've got the gearbox in there, and it's kind of hidden behind this foam, but it's a single input, dual output for the shafts. Yeah, no, there's no way you're going to be able to see it in there, but trust me, it exists. The other thing I want to share with you is this really interesting rear linkage setup. This is gear system as opposed to like horns and linkage rods. Works really, really well, and you can see you get really tremendous throw on those rudders. Really unique and effective way of doing those rear linkages for the Type VII model. All right, we're going to drop the cylinder in here, and this is probably the trickiest part of the whole assembly. This is the getting the intermediate dog bone in place with that dog bone socket in there, and then dropping the cylinder in and mating it all up together. One thing that the new owner might want to do is replace that coupler with a universal joint, and that way it'll always be in place. You see we got these clips here, and that's for keeping that Velcro out of the way. So you can see the angle that you got to insert that cylinder in. And you give it a little wiggle. It takes a little English to get it set into place. But doing it this way saves another hull split, so you can actually use the main deck as the hull access. Jason's just getting the dog bone lined up. Spin the cylinder to the correct orientation. And we're good. So you can see that the those connections for the rear control surfaces just basically snapped right into place. You need to make sure that the cylinder is oriented properly, directly in line, otherwise they may disconnect on you. And then in the front, you can see that forward dive plane linkage, and that'll just snap into place once you get it close. There you go. Got the Velcro in, holds the cable. We're going to drop our battery in, the cradle in the front. And before we connect that, we'll obviously turn our radio on. So maybe before we bolt this up, we can turn on the radio, and we'll test the functions of the boat. Power on. Seems to be happy. Connect power. So let's start at the front with the forward planes. We got good deflection, about 30 degrees is what you're after. Moving to the back. Throttle forward and reverse. Rudder control, again, really good deflection. And then the stern plate override. So these are, if you want to center that, on an automatic pitch controller. So you got full pitch control in there. And then we got our ballast system. You can hear the air pump. And you heard the emergency gas blow there. So everything seems to be functional. Now we got to get this thing bolted back up and get the hull back on, and it'll be ready to go.
Good.
All right, getting down to the wire here. Let's get that top hull on. So we've got an air hose here. This connects to the air hose, or the air inlet on the top of the cylinder. And then we've got our antenna, 2.4 gigahertz antenna, and this goes all the way up into the very top of this periscope. And it's a little bit of a friction fit, and that makes sure that it doesn't fall out. There we go. You can see that protruding from the top. You want to make sure that the 1.25 inches of it is all the way out. You get maximum reception. It magnetically just snaps down. The deck's all in place, ready to go. We put our stern deck on, connect our cables. And once that's all done, the boat is all hooked up, connected, tested, and basically ready for the pond. All right, just a couple of notes here on the top. So the two important things are the main antenna for the radio. You can see that there, and that goes up a long way. So you've got a big buffer here of periscope depth that you can keep this boat in. The other one is this intake here, which is in the other periscope, and you can see this hole here. That is the intake for the ballast system. So the air pump draws air in, blows it into the ballast tank. So that needs to be above the water to fully surface the boat. But of course, you do have that emergency backup if anything were to happen inside or under the water. If it loses signal, it'll automatically blow ballast. The other thing that we're going to do before we obviously head out to the pond is test the fail-safe functionality. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, we're going to test the fail-safe functionality here, and we're going to simulate that by just turning off the radio. Now, what should happen in theory? Bow planes should go to rise, stern planes should go to rise, and you should hear the gas ballast system engage. So let's test it. Turn it off. Should be almost instant. Awesome. Turn it back on. Perfect. Control has been regained. So that is the built-in fail-safe functionality. Kicks in immediately. As soon as the boat loses signal, if that antenna dips below, it'll bring itself back up and you get your signal back. All right, there you go. Completed 1/48 scale German Type VII U-boat from World War II. Just some notes from the pond. These boats have actually really excellent response to both yaw and pitch inputs from the transmitter. Reason being that the rudders and rear dive planes are located aft of the propellers, so at any time when you've got some forward movement in the throttle, you're going to start getting instantaneous response from the boat. So this is a really fun boat to run at the pond because it's got such great response, and it gets along and moves really, really fast too. We're going to share some footage that we took from her maiden voyage with you here in a moment. Before I let you go, please be sure to like and subscribe. It helps me a lot. My name is Bob Martin, the RCSubGuy with the NautilusDrydocks.com. Thanks for joining me, and we'll catch you next time.